U.S. federal agency has opened a formal investigation into former Special Counsel Jack Smith, who oversaw 2 criminal probes into Trump following his first terms in the White House. Reportedly, the Office of Special Counsel confirmed that it was investigating whether Smith had violated the Hatch Law, which prohibits federal employees from using their position for political activity. The Office of Special Counsel, or OSC, is an independent agency that probes the conduct of federal employees. However, the OSC does not have the authority to bring criminal charges. The OSC's investigation is the latest in the series of actions taken by President Trump and his allies against their perceived political enemies. Smith had resigned from his post in January following President Trump's election victory. A former war crimes prosecutor, Smith had brought 2 criminal cases against President Trump, one accusing him of illegally retaining classified material and another related to President Trump's attempts to overturn his 2020 election loss, an effort that sparked the January 6 riots on the U.S. Capitol. Neither case went to trial. Smith dropped both cases after President Trump won the election, citing a long-standing Justice Department policy against prosecuting a sitting president, but issued a report in January saying the evidence he gathered would have been enough to convict Trump at trial. President Trump denied wrongdoing and assailed the prosecutions as politically motivated attempts to damage his campaign. Now, for this discussion, we are joined by Thomas Porteous. He's an anchor and correspondent. Thomas, what more can you tell us about this situation?
Well, yes, as you said, Asuma, this is the first time since a U.S. Office of Special Counsel has ever investigated into a federal prosecutor, Jack Smith, who opened 2 high-profile cases against the now President Trump in between his 2 terms, one of which was for hiding federal documents. The other was to do with January 6th and Donald Trump's attempts to overturn the election. Now, Donald Trump here wasn't specifically involved. This was actually initiated by Republican Senator Tom Cotton, who put this idea forward that Jack Smith had had gone against the Hatch Law, which stops federal agencies from politicizing their activities. Now, as you've also said, Jack Smith also resigned straight after Donald Trump won the presidency again, and then made those statements that there was enough evidence, again, the now 47th President of the United States, to convict him of the charges that he had previously accused him of. Now, as we've said previously, he resigned in January of 2025, just after President Trump won the election, and this is one example that critics say where Donald Trump and the Republican Party are going after Donald Trump's people who have criticized Donald Trump in the legal aspect, and that is where people can hit the president hard when it comes to legality. However, as you've said, Jack Smith cannot be prosecuted on any criminal proceedings. It will all be fines, sanctions, and but however, the reason why this is so important is this is the first time in history this has ever been done, and of course it's been done under one Donald Trump's administration.
Thank you very much, Thomas, for sharing that insight. Now we move on to our next news. A magnitude 7.0